Bodybuilding fans and athletes around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. It's a big week in our sport, and we are so happy to bring you all the action. I'm Tim Wilkins, along with the real deal, the one and only Chris Cormier.
How you doing there, sir? How are you?
Good to see you, my friend. And back from all over the world, Tarek Elgindi.
Yes, I had a chance to go to Taiwan, Romania, Korea. It's been great.
And apparently we have extradition because you're back.
Yes, absolutely. I made it back. Thank God to the United States government, I was able to come back.
Do you drop down every time they let you back in the country? Kiss the soil and thank them?
You would be surprised, but I have global entry. And if you have global entry, you actually don't even need to show your passport. You just go in front of this little booth, click one time, they see your eyes. Once they see your eyes, my friend, they know where you live. They know your blood type. They know when you did your prostate exam and everything. They're like, you can go. We know exactly what's going on with you.
That's how I get those notifications.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you all with us and getting ready for this week, which is the Super Bowl of our sport. And, there are a few guys that are the biggest names in the sport, hands down. You know, each athlete that's an Olympian it's an amazing accomplishment. Getting into the IFBB Pro League, getting into the Olympia. But guys that have won that title year after year, like Chris Bumstead, who no longer even needs a name, he's just Cbum now. This is a big year for Chris. Every year is a big year when you're trying to retain the title. But the premise here is, as Tarek wrote it for us, the premise will be, will he do a Ronnie Coleman 2003?
You mean come out with the whole thing with the King's chair?
Is he coming out with the King's chair?
He's not coming out with the King's chair, that's for sure. That does not match his personality. Here's the bottom line. Cbum is the most popular bodybuilder of our times. But as a judge, you got to be honest with what you see. And last year, what we saw was not his best. At pre-judging, he was holding a little bit of water, especially from the back. We did not see the separation we're used to it. So in 2023, Chris Bumstead did not present his best physique. He knows that full well. All the judges that were sitting there, they know that full well. Still, the guy is very dominant and he won. Now, once you know that you didn't present your best physique, once you know that you lost poses to Ramon, that is going to light a fire under your butt. In addition to that, he's now a father. So that can create a purpose, a bigger purpose in him. And a lot of the pictures in the internet throughout the year showed a physique, a mindset that this guy might be able to pull a Ronnie Coleman. And when we reference that, we reference to Gunter, right? Losing to Gunter, coming back and smashing everybody in 2003. And I believe there's a chance that we might see that. We might see the best Cbum ever.
Now, Chris, this heads two directions for me. One, and it's a direction you can answer. As far as lighting a fire under everybody else, how does it feel as a competitor to know that your best on that day wasn't good enough to beat somebody who was off their best?
What comes to mind is demoralizing. Demoralizing comes to mind. And I feel like, this is a sport of what have you done for me lately, right? So judges seeing him last year, the last time you went up there, he told me personally he only posed the last week before the show. He only, trained half of the time for the show. He only did certain things, because life happens, injuries happen, babies happen, making babies happen to take your energy. All that stuff takes you down a notch. And throughout the years, injuries added up. And, that came out to not his best look last year. He said the same himself. So don't come after me, all of you Cbummies out there.
So now you got, though, he's been battling out with Ramon for the last couple of years. It's been that neck and neck. And then Ramon loses to Vissers. And now that kind of jockey's around. Urs is flat out, he put out his predictions the other day. Urs Kalaczynski put out his and said...
He's winning.
He's winning.
He's winning.
He's done. So you got that. You got a couple guys, you got a couple other guys that are climbing the ranks. I don't know if this is Carlos Domar's year, He looks phenomenal. But we had one other guy, actually two other guys, that really were just chomping. So you got that. Did we not mention Breon? Who just
Never mentioned
crushed Dubai.
Killed Dubai. I mean, and, you know, that was not the best I've ever seen of Breon from the back, but it was enough to conquer everyone in that competition. He did great. You know, he came in at the last week where it really hardened up and really showed his championship form. And yes, I mean, he's never went past fourth place throughout his whole career, you know, as a classic competitor. So he's always going to be there. He's going to be there and, you know, waiting to see if he can catch someone with a big right hook. One
of the other OGs is out this year, Terrence Ruffin, a guy who's been top 5 for years. He's taken a year off.
Injuries.
We had another guy that you liked a lot this year, Fabio Junio.
Correct, yeah. He's got a tremendous back double biceps. His density on the back double biceps is amazing. Josema from Spain, a lot of the judges were very impressed with him. He's a young guy. He brings a great back double biceps. Now, Chris lost the back double biceps to Ramon. I still think that Ramon, after the last 2 Olympias, he's placed second. And I think the people that are putting Wesley Vissers ahead of Ramon, it might be a little bit too soon. Ramon just lost 1 Arnold Classic to Wesley Vissers. The previous year, he won the Arnold Classic. What Ramon has done, he's beaten Chris on the back double biceps, and every year he's gotten closer and closer. And Chris Bumstead knows. Chris also knows that Ramon has better arms than him. It's just a matter of filling up the frame and matching the frame of Chris Bumstead. What does Wesley Vissers have that none of the opponents of Chris Bumstead have? He can straight up outmass Chris Bumstead right off the bat on the front double biceps. He doesn't have the small waist as Chris or Ramon or even Urs, but when he hits that front double biceps and he's shredded, he can very well outmass the entire lineup, and if he's conditioned, he can outcondition them. So it will take us, the judges, literally less than 3 seconds to know what kind of Wesley Vissers will be at the Olympia. And it will be decided on that front double biceps. If he presents the front double biceps he did at the Arnold, that guy will probably be on the first call out and fighting. Chris Bumstead has shown on the social media some great photos, right, throughout the year. And I know social media doesn't mean anything, but it shows that the guy's confident, right? If you're not that confident, you try to hide your body, you know, but I think we're also going to see the best of Wesley Vissers. We're also going to see the best of Ramon, and we're also going to see the best of Cbum. So we'll see what happens, but Cbum at his best, he's very formidable.
I think the top 5 in the whole Olympia is going to be at their very best. I think Wesley, you know, as you said, you know, he was lights out at the Arnold Classic, Ohio. UK, not so much. So that leaves the door open to where one of them's going to show up, and, you know, the Wesley and the Ohio Arnold, that guy can contend for the title. Other than that, you know, the one from UK was lackluster to me. So
you didn't put a lot of weight in that one?
Not in the UK. Not the pounds.
It's not the pounds.
Not the pounds. So yeah, so that's my take on it.
All right. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what everybody brings. I'm going to throw one more name out there for our top 5 to 7, Michael DeBoule. Who's another guy who came in with
Michael DeBoule. He placed well. He was on the first call out. He did some boxing in the UK. We'll see what happens to him coming back from the boxing match, right? He was in the internet. You know, some of these guys, man, their prep is like, they're like, this year, the weights are not enough. I'm just going to start swinging at people.
Hey,
Can they bring the weights up a little?
If you have insecurity, fight security. We have an amazing Olympia plan for you, of course, so we'll be mentioning it throughout the days leading up. So many of those tickets are gone. You're going to want to make all the action part of your weekend at OlympiaProductions.com. That's how you're going to catch that pay-per-view with me, Phil Heath, Sean Ray, Linda Murray. We got some very special guests in that mix. So they're going to be popping up. You don't want to miss it. Again, OlympiaProductions.com. But when we come back, there's two more guys that have an absolute war on their hands. We saw them in an Olympia battle a few months ago. Clarida and Pearson, when we come back on Primetime Muscle. All right, guys, a few months ago, we had one of our best Olympia battles yet. The fans absolutely loved it. Sean Clarida and Keon Pearson. And it wasn't just that they went head-to-head and pound for pound, but there was a camaraderie and a ferocity to that, Coach, that people just loved.
Oh, yes. I was very happy with their intensity and the way they went after each other, but yet trying to help each other also towards the end there more. At the time, it was everyone wanted to see how they were going to be friends. They were going to be enemies. They seemed to be wanting to boost up and keep in mind that the 212 division is alive and well, and they are trying to bring up everything, the enthusiasm about from the fans for the 212 division.
I have a feeling though, come prejudge. They're going to shake hands, look at each other, and it's going to be Rocky IV. I must break you.
Yeah. The Olympia battle was very intense. Sean Clarida, we had a chance to interview him at the LA Fit Expo in the beginning of the year, and he seemed very determined. And when I say determined, I mean he was upset. There's the whole process of losing, being mad, being upset, recognizing why you lost, and then saying, what do I have to do to win? So I think he went through that process very quickly, and he's very determined. At Olympia battle, it surprised me because Clarida always likes to hide his physique. And in the end right there, he took off and he showed his physique and he was very proud of. And he was very conditioned. I mean, he could have, with that conditioning, he could have won about 2 or 3 open shows. Okay, open, not 212. That's how good he is. And then Keon Pearson looked at that confidence from Clarida and said, I need to respond. And he eventually took off his shirt, opened his lat spread, which is possibly his best shot, and said, hey, I know he's mad he lost, but I'm also mad that he thinks that he's going to just take it back. They like each other, they're friends, but in order to win, you not only need to beat the guy physically, you need to beat him mentally. And that begins when the Olympia the previous year ends.
Now, Chris, I got to say, and then I'm going to ask Tarek a little thing about Clarida last year. They were 11, 12 weeks out from the Olympia when we did our battle. We've had a big issue with conditioning across a couple of classes over the last couple of years. To be that conditioned that far out, that's impressive.
Very impressive. I mean, that means you took it seriously every single day since the last time you lost that title last year, up until the battle. That was like, I mean, you have to the way to get that skin wrapped around that muscle that tight, those lines so deep, through the shoulder cap and everything, striations throughout the back. But that right there was good because then Keon had a measuring stick, if you will, to oh, okay, I see where you at. Because Keon, to me, dropped a hammer after that. And then he brought some real density that he haven't shown, been showing the striations in the quads, feathering, which I think it should be the staple of the sport. I mean, there's no reason why these guys dieted that long and not have the feathering in the quads, because that's my thing. That was my favorite part of competition, is the leanness, the striations, the cuts, the separation, all the shape, all the stuff that Keon brings to the table. It's going to be very hard to take that title.
You ever pull the skin off a turkey leg and you just see all that sinew and muscle and meat? He posted a picture, Keon did, about 3 weeks ago, just lifted it up, and it was shredded off the bone, hanging over the kneecap.
That's what you got to have.
Oh.
If you want to win, that's what you got to have. That's what you got to bring it.
So Tarek, as Clarita did that inventory, and he said, all right, I had a lot going on. I had a baby. I was building the gym. I was building the shoe line. Bodybuilders don't make excuses. They make plans. Like you said, they went through the 4 stages of grief. Angry, sad, other stage, and how the hell do I fix it? And so as that head judge that travels the world doing these shows, you look at the 2 that were just razor difference. What does Clarita have to do to jump back into that top spot?
He recognized that he was too big. Sean Clarita, if you have a chance, for all of you guys that are young bodybuilders, man, I recommend not only you follow Sean Clarita, but that you try to understand who he is. Sean Clarita is an all-around bodybuilder. He lives for bodybuilding, and his mind is very strong. The fact that he was able to recognize his own mistake very early gave him the opportunity to fix it. I believe in 2022, I said it, that the most impressive bodybuilder on stage was Sean Clarita. And he was the closest thing we've ever seen from Ronnie Coleman. You just needed to stretch the dimensions. I believe that in 2024, we're going to see that again. The best of Sean Clarita. Now, when you say that, you go, okay, he's going to take the title back. I want to correct every single person that thinks the best of Sean Clarita will easily win the title. Not because he's not great, because I think this young man here, Keon Pearson, now understands what it takes to be a champion. And he's fully aware that if he brings the same physique he did in 2023, he's going to lose the Olympia. So he needs to bring a better physique. And he was reminded by Clarita at Olympia Battle. So at Olympia Battle, Keon Pearson said, okay, you want a war? I'm going to bring everything I got. We're going to see the 2 best bodybuilders we've ever seen from these guys in 2024 in just a few days. Get the pay-per-view right now, otherwise you're going to regret for the rest of your life.
And it's everyone's talking like a 2-man race. You got some other competitors that's really good, but Oleg is not going to be there.
Oleg Krive is
not
in?
hurt. He got hurt.
So Oleg Krive is out.
He's out.
Angel
Calderon, yes.
Ahmad Ashkenazi.
Kareth Baggio.
Baggio.
A lot of people were upset with me because Angel Calderon was not at Olympia Battle. I got 70,000 views from the entire country of Spain. Okay, listen, folks. I love Angel Calderon. Me gusta mucho lo físico de Angel Calderon. Es un gran campeón. But Olympia Battle is a very limited spot for 2 competitors, 3 max. And at this time, we cannot bring Angel Calderon. But if this guy wins the Olympia, places second, he's going to be at Olympia Battle. I love you, Spain. I love you guys.
Hasta luego.
So you can't make predictions, and I can put you on the spot. You got thoughts? Does Keon retain the title? I know we hate to do this.
Come on.
Everybody else has no problem. You and I we have a problem doing this.
We got a problem. Because here's the thing. I mean, we've seen the Giant Killer, come in tight. This is going to be his best ever. So I don't know exactly how to even call it at this point. I do know the champion, he's living in Las Vegas. He's just right down the street from the show. That's going to be, home court advantage for him. He's looking the best he's ever looked. And I mean, it's gonna be like an old school Flex Wheeler, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, 1 and 2. It's gonna be like just an apple and an orange. One's gonna be a little taller, a little bit wider. One's gonna be probably a little bit more denser still at this point. You know, due to age and repetitions on that body. You know, right now I can't take away from the champion at this point.
Well, I have a hard time with this too. You say something interesting when you liken this him to Ronnie Coleman stretching the dimensions, and I always try to remind guys when they meet an Olympian like a 212 and they're shorter in stature. But when you say here's a guy that got on stage last year, well, 192, I think, and realistically, Chris, you'll agree with this. It's 10 pounds per inch of lean body mass. So if you say Ronnie went on stage at 5'9", and Clarita's
5'11",
5'5", so 5'11", Clarita's 5'2", 5'4", you're talking that 90 pounds is identical. That's the same guy, shorter stature with all that mass. Keon, about an inch taller. He's not a lot taller. He's an inch or two taller, is carrying all that mass. And to liken that to someone 6 to 8 inches taller, you got to stack that same muscle on that same frame to get up there and even them out.
Clarita is one of the greatest bodybuilders of our time, okay? We had Big Ramy, you know, winning 2 Olympias. I think one of the Olympias, the first one he won, he looked incredible. Hadi Chupin, Derek, Chris Bumstead. I think Clarita is one of the best bodybuilders we've had in the last 5 years, okay? In 2022, he was the best bodybuilder. Keon Pearson is more genetically gifted because of his clavicle bones, okay? That's something Clarita is going to have to deal with. From the side poses, Clarita will have more density, right? He's going to just have that huge chest. Front lat spread, front double biceps, Keon Pearson is going to open those clavicles. And, man, we're going to see something that's really wide. It's like open wide, you know? That's why I think sometimes he can go to the open.
See, here's the thing that, you know, clavicle bones, you just struck a nerve. Struck a nerve. Clavicle. So, so here's the thing. When you got the side poses, I'm noticing, as you're saying this, most of the guys with the shorter clavicle bones, they are more dense from the side. And the guys with the wider clavicle bones, then they are a little bit less, but they got the width and they got the shape. So, I mean, you're just gonna have to pick your poison when it comes to that. You know, they got only so many side poses, and those guys seem to dominate in the side poses, which is pretty...
And I just want to add something. When you're Sean Clarita and you hit your side chest, you have all that density. You can actually turn your clavicles a little bit more. You still have that massive density, but now you've also added your width by just turning a little bit more. That's something we teach in posing seminars. You have all the density, great. Now start working on your width. Just turn that side chest a little bit more to have that, you know, massive width.
How many pose downs have you done?
What's that?
How many pose downs have you done?
I have never done a pose down myself.
Okay, go ahead.
We will see. We'll see whose density wins this year's 212. You don't want to miss the action, and we've got a whole lot of divisions this year that are up for grabs and battled to the end. And one of those is coming up on the next part here of Primetime Muscle when we come back. Always so much fun going on behind the scenes of Primetime Muscle. Boys, We're good?
Yes.
Okay.
We're good.
So the Rising Phoenix happened a few weeks ago. And you know, there are certain shows for bodybuilding and fitness and figure and bikini that all are kind of big bellwether precursors to the Olympia that say, here's somebody that's going in odds-on favor. And that odds-on favor for years has been the reigning bodybuilding Olympia champ, Andrea Shaw. And this year, we saw the first little chink in the armor, the first bit of vulnerability. Tarek?
The Rising Phoenix is something very special in women's bodybuilding. First, because the prize money is equivalent to the Olympia. And all the competitors, the top competitors at the Olympia compete at the Rising Phoenix. There's no other show like that. You look at the Arnold, Derek Lunsford is not there, right? At the Rising Phoenix, you have Miss Olympia there. You have the top competitors. Andrea Shaw is phenomenal, fantastic. One of the most beautiful lines. She's got tremendous muscularity. You know, she's one with the conditioning. I think a lot of times the conditioning is right. People say, well, she could have been tighter. Maybe a little bit, but not too much. We don't want to see her diced and not have her fullness. The issue here is she's got a competitor by the name of Angie Yo, okay, behind her. And Angie Yo is extremely determined, okay? She spent the entire year thinking about posing and how can I beat, okay, Andrea Shaw. So Andrea Shaw does not have a second place like Chris Cormier, partying in the club, you know, full of excuses.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you know, you're the champion and you got somebody on your heels and that guy's partying in the club, not doing anything, just being a lazy bodybuilder that's going to finish his career like the Buffalo Bills.
Come on.
Andrea Shaw does not have that. She has a very determined bodybuilder that's doing whatever it takes to win. And you know what? She did.
Chris, it's a presidential year. Your name was mentioned. Did you care to respond?
Well, where do I go from here? So Andrea, I mean, I've been talking about this for years. There's going to be someone that's going to step up. You know, Angie Yo's she's been there. She's been omnipresent. Good word.
Ooh.
Omnipresent many years. And that's where, I knew it was going to be like that Gaspari type of person with the Lee Haney's type of person. And, they can always take you down if you're not going to be at top of your game. She had a little bit, in the glutes, a little bit looser than before. Like you said, chink in the arbor showed up, and she was right there to cut right into that chink.
So here's a question, too, as a coach, as a competitor. The Rising Phoenix, I believe, is 7 weeks, maybe-ish, from the Olympia.
Yeah, yep.
Which is not a terrible amount of time. It's a great amount of time to make adjustments.
It's still a lifetime in bodybuilding terms, as far as it's a lot of time to make or break your situation, But I know Andrea, I know she was, right after that show, was dialing her coach's number and going right to work on what can we do to fix this, because that's not a good feeling to lose a title after you won it for the last 4 years. So, but also, here's the thing. How far can Angie Yo bring her physique up? Or her posing is right where it needs to be already. The person with the better genetics, the champion, what is she gonna do? What is Mrs. Jones, Lady Jones? What is she gonna do?
Jones. Was Ashley at you're head judge for this thing, right?
No, I did the pay-per-view. The Rising Phoenix is a all-women show.
Sandy Williamson.
No. Sandy Williamson was in Japan. Becky Clausen was the head judge. On the judging panel, she had Becca Sizemore, Tangi Johnson, Michelle Mayberry, and Robert Maher.
Wow, nice.
I saw Tangi Johnson.
Great memory, yeah.
Great memory.
I'm prepared for the show. I don't do illegal substances during the week.
Oh, man, come on.
And that is why I'm prepared.
You are just prepared.
So, Ashley Jones, of course, you've always got a few lurkers, right, in that top 4, 5, 6. You've got Teresa Ivanchik, who's bringing a lot of size. You've got my research down here. You got the Natalias and the Natashas and
Natalia Kovaleva.
Yes,
you have Michaela Aycock, Sherry Priami. Sherry Priami.
How did everybody look?
I'm getting my glasses.
Anastasia Leonova. Hella Trevino's been a constant up there.
Hella Trevino did not participate in the Rising Phoenix, but she's confirmed for the Olympia. One interesting fact about Hella Trevino, she competed at the Olympia 20 years ago. She's the only competitor in the history of the Olympia to compete 20 years apart.
I remember she won a show in the 90s, and I saw her at the FIBO out in Germany. She had her trophy, and it's still in her bathing suit in the bar area where we're eating and everything. And she was still celebrating that victory. That was like in the late 90s.
Wow.
So, I mean, to still see her still able to get her physique together and compete with the best in the world is remarkable.
So let's talk about some judging then, Tarek, because you do judge like at the Romania Fest. They had bodybuilding there as well, correct? Women's bodybuilding?
The Romania Muscle Fest has all the categories. I judged the Romania Muscle Fest last year, and I'm going to Romania right after the Olympia, but I had judged the Alina Popa Classic.
So here's my question, because I know the judging is an evolutionary process, trying to dial in the ideal physique for each class. So I was the onstage MC for many years for the Olympia, when you had Vicky Gates, Iris Kyle, Yaxeni Oraken.
Man, remember that?
That was, yeah. So Chris mentions the late 90s, and there was some powerhouses. But you said, we don't want Andrea coming in too diced. I remember a lot of very fibery muscle. This is just post Lenda and Corey, and getting into there was a lot. Kim Ches. Now, Kim brought a lot of size and condition.
Yeah.
She was next level.
And then Linda got the title back.
Yeah.
But she went and had Chad do her diet after that. So Chad coached her up to get the title back.
So how shredded, now with all the mass these ladies are carrying, how shredded can they be? The notch above women's physique.
That's a good point. You know, we don't want to see women's bodybuilding become this mega shredded competition where women lose all their femininity, right? A woman by nature has more fat than men, and that's why they keep their curves. Many people thought, well, Andrea Shaw lost the Rising Phoenix because she wasn't as conditioned as Angela Yo. That's very inaccurate statement. Andrea Shaw has won the Olympia with the same conditioning she had at the Rising Phoenix. And Angela Yo has lost to Andrea Shaw with the same conditioning she had at the Rising Phoenix.
What was the difference?
The difference was the added muscular development that Angela Yo has done to her physique. She's added quads, she's added the lats, and now her physique is more aesthetically pleasing. I go as far as to say that my feedback to Angela Yo is, if you come in a little bit fuller, you will add a little bit more of a roundness to your physique now that you've added the quads, you've added the lats. So this is not a conditioning, oh, Andrea Shaw, come as conditioned as you can and you win. No, Andrea Shaw needs to develop her lats. The lats are a bit high. She wins the quads, she gets a little bit more quads, Andrea Shaw. Now her waist, which is already small, gets even smaller. So for the people that don't understand bodybuilding, they're quickly pointing out, oh, it's just conditioning. It's not. Angela Yo has added size, which has made her physique more aesthetically pleasing. And now Andrea Shaw needs to get her lats a little bit lower. Okay? She needs to get her quads a little bit out. So now she wins the shape battle against Angela Yo.
Well, and it holds off Ashley Jones, who also has that tiny waist and is missing the mass top and bottom. She's already got the beautiful shape. So that buys her another couple of years over Ashley Jones.
You know, I got to give credit to Chris, and it's a very hard thing to do credit. Actually, I was surprised he remembers something from the 90s after all the marijuana he smoked in his life. But Ashley Jones is the most genetically gifted person on that lineup. As great as Andrea Shaw is in terms of genetics, Ashley Jones has superior genetics. Why? Because the lats start low and the quads flare out. And she could be the matrix to eventually win this whole thing.
I like the word matrix.
Matrix.
I like that.
Damn.
I like that.
Well, guys, we are getting close to the Olympia.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, if Andrea can add some a little bit more development, she might have enough time if she got right to work right after that show and come into that Olympia with even a more improved physique and get that and retain that title.
Retain that title. Tarek El-Guindi, Chris Cormier, guys, friends and fans, like, subscribe, share, and as always, comment. We know if you're a fan of somebody specifically, you don't see that there's a competition brewing, but there are really heated rivalries and competitions across all the divisions you're not going to want to miss. You're going to want to tune in to this year's Olympia at olympiaproductions.com. Get that pay-per-view and don't miss any of the action. Chris?
Don't miss it.
Get the pay-per-view right now.
Let's go.
That was all you need to know. Tim Wilkins for the guys. Tarek will be judging. Chris will be coaching. And I'll be ringside for all the action this year's Olympia. We'll see you on the next Primetime Muscle.